Commander Alan Pierce stood on the observation deck of Earth's orbital station. His heart beat fast as he watched the alien ship approach. It moved with impossible grace, its silver hull catching the light of the sun. "It's really happening," said a voice beside him. Lieutenant Lisa Reyes joined him at the viewport. "First contact." Alan nodded. After centuries of wondering if humans were alone in the universe, they finally had their answer. The aliens called themselves the Vrandari, representatives of something called the Galactic Concord. "They've requested landing clearance at the United Nations complex," Lisa said. "The Secretary General wants us there." 3 hours later, Alan stood at attention as the alien delegation walked into the Grand Hall of the UN. The Vrandari were tall, with blue-tinted skin and 4-fingered hands. They moved with fluid grace that made humans look clumsy by comparison. The lead alien, High Emissary Zorik, approached the human delegation. His eyes scanned the room, showing little interest until they landed on the military officers. "You maintain armed forces?" Zorik asked, his voice translated by a small device at his throat. "Yes," replied the Secretary General. "For our defense." Zorik made a sound that might have been a laugh. How quaint. Primitives always focus on weapons before they understand the universe. Alan felt his face grow hot, but he kept his expression neutral. This was too important for hurt feelings. The meeting continued for hours. The Vrandari explained they represented a union of over 30 advanced species who governed most of the galaxy. They offered Earth membership as a protectorate species, a junior position until humans proved their worth. "Your technology is crude," military advisor Thelius told Alan later during the reception. The Vrandari officer held up Alan's sidearm, which he had asked to examine. "Projectile weapons. We abandoned these 10,000 years ago." "They've served us well," Alan replied calmly. Thelius handed the gun back with 2 fingers, as if touching something dirty. "The Concord will help you advance. In time, you may contribute something useful." Over the next few weeks, more Vrandari ships arrived. They brought gifts, medical technology, cleaner energy systems, faster computers. Each gift came with Vrandari advisors, who treated humans like children learning to walk. 1 month after first contact, the United Nations voted to accept protectorate status in the Galactic Concord. Alan was promoted to admiral and appointed as Earth's military liaison. "They think we're stupid," Lisa said. They were sitting in Alan's new office in the Joint Earth Concord base near Washington. "Did you see how that Thelius character reacted when I mentioned our military history?" Alan nodded. He said studying human wars was like studying how cavemen threw rocks. "We should keep teaching our tactics anyway," Lisa insisted. "Their technology is amazing, but they're arrogant. They think their way is the only way." Alan looked out the window at the Vrandari ships hovering over the base. Their technology was beyond anything humans had achieved. But something bothered him. All their ships looked identical. All their tactics followed the same patterns. "Start a program," he told Lisa. "Quietly. Record everything the Vrandari teach us, but preserve our own knowledge too. Earth's military history, our different strategies, our adaptability." "They won't like that," Lisa warned. Alan watched as a group of Vrandari officers walked past human soldiers without acknowledging them. "No, they won't. But something tells me we might need it someday." Outside, the Vrandari continued upgrading Earth's defenses with standardized Concord technology, never suspecting that the primitives were planning for a future where human ingenuity might matter more than alien tech. 5 years passed since the Vrandari arrived. Earth had changed in many ways. Alien technology now powered cities. Vrandari ships were a common sight in the skies. Humans had begun to travel to nearby stars, but always with alien supervision. Admiral Alan Pierce sat in his office at the Earth Defense Headquarters. On his desk lay reports from ships patrolling the edge of the Sol system. His door opened, and Colonel Lisa Reyes walked in with a worried look. "We need to talk," she said, placing a datapad on his desk. Have you noticed something strange in the Concord communications lately? Ellen nodded. For months, he had seen odd patterns. The Kryvax, he said. They keep mentioning this species, but no one will tell me who they are. Lisa sat down. I've been collecting every mention of them. Something is happening in the outer regions of Concord space. Battles, maybe. Ellen pulled up a star map. Look at these patrol patterns. The Vrandari have doubled their ships in these sectors. They're worried about something. They brought their concerns to Thelius, now the High Commander of Concord forces in the Sol system. The Vrandari officer laughed. Typical primitive paranoia, Thelius said, not even looking up from his console. The Kryvax are just raiders. Nothing the Concord cannot handle. Then why not share information about them? Ellen asked. Thelius sighed, as if explaining to a child. Your species is too young to understand complex galactic security. Focus on learning to use the defense systems we gave you. After the meeting, Lisa pulled Ellen aside. I made a friend, she whispered. A Thalari scientist named Nex. He's not like the other aliens. He respects humans. That night, they met Nex in a quiet corner of the joint base. The Thalari was smaller than the Vrandari, with gray skin and large eyes. He looked nervous. The Kryvax are not just raiders, Nex said quietly. They are an empire, expanding quickly, taking over worlds. The Concord has been fighting them for years. Why keep this secret from Earth? Ellen asked. Nex looked down. Earth is expendable. The Concord classifies you as a fringe system. If war comes here, the Concord will not send their best ships. Lisa clenched her fists. We trusted them. Most Concord species think alike, Nex explained. They follow the same strategies, use the same technologies. The Kryvax have learned to counter them. That's why they're winning. Ellen thought about the secret program he and Lisa had been running. For 5 years, they had preserved human military knowledge, even as the Vrandari replaced Earth's weapons with standard Concord designs. The next day, Ellen met with General Frank Weller, head of Earth's remaining independent forces. We need to prepare, Ellen said, without the Concord knowing. General Weller nodded. I never trusted those blue-skinned know-it-alls. What do you need? Move key industries underground. Study the alien tech they gave us, but modify it our way. Build weapons that combine our ideas with theirs. For months, Earth worked in secret. Engineers took apart Concord shields and weapons, rebuilding them with human innovations. Factories buried deep in mountains produced ships that looked like Concord vessels from the outside, but were very different inside. One day, Thelius noticed human activity at an old military base. What are you doing there? He demanded. Just preserving some historical sites. Ellen lied. You know how primitives are about their history. Thelius lost interest immediately. A waste of resources. You should focus on becoming more like us. As the Vrandari officer walked away, Lisa joined Ellen. The underground fleet is almost ready, she whispered. 20 ships built our way. Let's hope we never need them. Ellen said, looking at the stars. But in his heart, he knew trouble was coming. The warning signs were clear to anyone who wasn't blinded by arrogance. Earth would be ready when the storm broke. The alarm sounded at 3:47 a.m. Earth time. Admiral Alan Pierce jumped out of bed and rushed to the command center. The large screen showed chaos. Strange ships had appeared near Jupiter, where the Concord maintained its main defense station. What's happening? Alan demanded. Unknown vessels, reported the officer on duty. They just appeared. Hundreds of them. On the screen, the Concord Defense Fleet, stationed at Jupiter, engaged the invaders. Their elegant blue energy weapons looked beautiful against the blackness of space, but the enemy ships barely slowed down. The Kryvax, Ellen whispered. He grabbed the communication link. Get me Thelius now. The Vrandari commander appeared on screen, his blue face showing actual emotion for once. Fear. We're under attack. Thelius said, stating the obvious. The Kryvax fleet has bypassed our outer warning systems. Impossible. Can your ships stop them? Ellen asked. The answer came not from Thelius, but from the screen behind him. The last Concorde ship near Jupiter exploded in a bright flash. The Kryvax fleet continued forward, now heading toward Mars. They knew exactly how to counter our defenses, Thelius said, his voice shaking. This should not be possible. Colonel Lisa Reyes burst into the room. The Mars colony is calling for help. They watched in horror as Mars fell. The Concorde defensive grid, installed just 2 years ago, failed almost instantly against the Kryvax weapons. The alien invaders moved with purpose, destroying military targets first, then communication arrays. Evacuate your people, Alan told Thelius. We need to prepare Earth's defenses. Thelius straightened his uniform. I've already called for Concorde evacuation ships. They will arrive within the hour to remove essential personnel. Essential personnel? Lisa asked. You mean yourselves? What about Earth? The Vrandari wouldn't meet her eyes. Sol is a peripheral system. The Concorde must preserve its core leadership and technology. Alan's communication unit buzzed. It was General Weller. Admiral, the Vrandari are loading equipment onto their ships. They're leaving. You can't abandon us. Ellen shouted at Thelius. The Vrandari finally looked at him. I am sorry, Admiral. The Concorde defense strategy requires us to regroup and counterattack later. This is standard procedure. Standard procedure, Alan repeated coldly. Of course it is. As Thelius left to board his evacuation ship, he paused. For what it's worth, you were advancing well. For primitives. Only Nex and a few other alien scientists chose to stay. While the Vrandari ships flood the system, Nex worked frantically with human engineers, sharing everything he knew about Kryvax technology. Their ships are designed to counter standard Concorde weapons, Nex explained. They've studied the Concorde for years. Lisa watched the enemy fleet approach on the monitors. How long until they reach Earth? 12 hours, Alan said. Maybe less. General Weller entered the command center. It's time for Operation Homeground. For 5 years, they had prepared in secret. Now, hidden bases around the world opened. Ships built by humans, combining Earth ingenuity with modified alien tech, launched into orbit. Underground factories activated defenses that looked nothing like standard Concorde designs. Alan's communication screen lit up. A harsh face appeared. Gray skin, red eyes, sharp teeth. The Kryvax commander. I am Warlord Drakthor of the Kryvax Empire, the alien said. Your Concorde protectors have fled. You have 12 hours to surrender or be destroyed. Alan cut the transmission and turned to his team. They expect us to either surrender or fight like the Concorde would. He smiled grimly. Let's show them how humans fight. Lisa nodded. They called us primitive. Let's show them what primitives can do when backed into a corner. Around the world, humanity prepared for battle. Not according to Concorde doctrine, but in humanity's own unpredictable way. The storm had broken over Sol's system, but Earth would not fall easily. Warlord Drakthor watched Earth from his command ship. His scouts reported thousands of vessels launching from the planet's surface. He smiled, showing sharp teeth. The humans were fleeing, just as expected. Pathetic, he told his officers. Without the Concorde to protect them, they run like prey. On Earth, Admiral Alan Pierce stood in the underground command center. Screens showed the evacuation ships leaving the planet. But these weren't really evacuations. Operation Trojan is underway, Colonel Lisa Reyes reported. All ships are in position. Alan nodded. The Kryvax are letting them pass. Yes, Lisa said with a small smile. They think we're running scared. General Weller joined them, his face grim but determined, just like the history books. The Greeks, the horse, the city of Troy. Old tricks work best on new enemies. The Kryvax followed standard Concorde protocols, allowing civilian ships to flee. They had no reason to waste weapons on unarmed vessels. What they didn't know was that these ships were Earth's counterattack. "Now," Alan ordered. Across space, the refugee ships suddenly changed. Hidden panels opened, releasing millions of tiny drones. Each one was small, built with simple technology the Krivax scanners had ignored. The drones swarmed toward the enemy fleet. "What is this?" Warlord Drakthor demanded as his screens showed the cloud of small objects approaching. His weapons officer looked confused. They appear to be primitive machines. No energy shields, no advanced weapons. "Destroy them," Drakthor ordered. The Krivax ships fired their advanced energy weapons, designed to take down Concord shields. But the human drones were too small, too many, and too simple. For every 100 destroyed, 1,000 more kept coming. The drones attached themselves to the hulls of the Krivax ships. Then they exploded, not with fire, but with electromagnetic pulses. Systems across the Krivax fleet flickered and died. "Primitive weapons," Drakthor raged. "How can this be happening?" On a small stealth ship approaching the Krivax command vessel, Lisa Rice checked her equipment. With her was Nex, the Thalari scientist, and a team of Earth's best computer experts. "Their shields are designed to stop energy weapons and missiles," Nex explained. "Not people trying to get in." Using tools that combined Thalari knowledge with human creativity, they cut through the hull of Drakthor's ship. Inside, they moved quickly through corridors thrown into darkness by the EMP attacks. "Their network will be isolated," Nex warned. "Standard Concord procedure during attacks." Lisa smiled. "Good thing we're not using standard procedures." Her team plugged old-fashioned cables directly into the Krivax systems. They uploaded viruses developed by human programmers, messy, unpredictable code that no Concord engineer would ever write. The Krivax, prepared for elegant Concord attacks, had no defenses against human-style hacking. Ship by ship, their fleet coordination systems fell apart. Back on Earth, General Weller gave the order: launch the hammers. Hidden on the far side of the moon, massive railguns powered up. They fired simple projectiles, just metal rods, really, but accelerated to incredible speeds by human-modified gravity tech. The Krivax energy shields, designed to stop energy blasts, did nothing against solid objects moving at such velocities. In his command center, Warlord Drakthor watched in horror as his ships were pierced by what seemed like primitive spears. "Impossible," he growled. "They are savages. Their Concord protectors abandoned them." The door to his command room burst open. Lisa Rice entered with her team, weapons ready. "Surrender," she told the Krivax leader, "or we'll show you how savage we can be." Drakthor looked at the human woman in shock. No species had ever boarded a Krivax command ship before. No one would dare. "How?" he asked simply. Lisa smiled. "You made the same mistake the Concord did. You thought different meant primitive." She pointed her weapon at him. "That was your first and last mistake." Outside, the Earth Defense Fleet revealed itself. Ships built in secret, each one unique, each one combining human ideas with alien technology in ways the Concord would never have approved. The battle for Earth had truly begun. Admiral Alan Pierce stood on the bridge of his flagship, the U.S. Defiant. This ship had never been shown to the Vrandari. Built in secret deep under the Rocky Mountains, it combined the best of human design with adapted alien technology. "All ships report ready," his communications officer said. Alan looked at the tactical display. 100 Earth ships moved into formation. Unlike the identical vessels of the Concord, each human ship was different. Some were small and fast. Others were heavy with weapons. All carried surprises. "Begin the counterattack," Alan ordered. "Remember your training. Don't fight like the Concord would expect. Fight like humans." The Earth fleet surged forward. The Krivax, still reeling from the drone attacks and the loss of their command systems, tried to form a defensive line. Their ships moved into the standard formation used against Concord forces for years. They're expecting us to attack the center, Alan said, watching their movement. Split forces, groups A and B, attack the flanks. The human fleet divided, moving in patterns no Concorde commander would use. The Kryvax ships turned slowly, confused by tactics they had never seen before. Fire railguns, Alan ordered. The human ships launched old-fashioned projectiles, accelerated to incredible speeds. The Kryvax shields, designed to stop energy weapons, failed completely against solid metal. Ship after ship took damage. They're adjusting their shields, reported the science officer, switching to energy weapons. Just as the Kryvax modified their defenses to stop the railguns, the human fleet switched to energy weapons modified from Concorde designs. The constant changes confused the enemy. They could not adapt fast enough. On the Kryvax command ship, Lisa Reyes kept her weapon pointed at Warlord Drakthor. The alien leader looked at the battle displays in shock. "Your ships fight without proper formation," he said. "There is no logic to your attacks." "That's what makes it human," Lisa replied. "We don't all think alike. We don't all fight alike." Drakthor's second-in-command rushed in. "Warlord, we're receiving reports from all sectors. The human ships use different weapons, different tactics. Our fleet cannot coordinate a response." Lisa smiled. "Order your fleet to surrender." "Never," growled Drakthor. "The Kryvax do not surrender." "Then you'll lose ship by ship," Lisa said calmly. "Look at your displays. We've already destroyed a third of your fleet." Outside, the battle continued. When the Kryvax ships grouped together for protection, the humans fired nuclear missiles, weapons the Concorde had abandoned centuries ago. When the Kryvax scattered, the humans used Concorde-style energy beams to pick them off one by one. "Sir," called Alan's communications officer, "we're getting a signal from Colonel Reyes on the Kryvax command ship." Lisa's face appeared on screen. Behind her stood a very angry Warlord Drakthor. "Admiral," she said with a smile, "the Kryvax commander has something he'd like to say." Drakthor stepped forward, his red eyes burning with hate. "We request terms for surrender." A cheer went up across the bridge of the U.S. Defiant. Alan raised his hand for quiet. "All Kryvax ships will power down weapons and shields," he ordered. "Any ship that fails to comply will be destroyed immediately." As the Kryvax fleet surrendered, new ships appeared at the edge of the solar system. The Concorde was returning, led by a chastened Thelius. "Admiral Pierce," Thelius called over the communication channel, "we have returned with reinforcements to assist you against the Kryvax threat." Alan looked at his tactical officer. "Keep weapons locked on the Concorde ships." "You don't trust them?" the officer asked. "They abandoned us when we needed them," Alan said. "Now they return when the fight is over." "No, I don't trust them at all." The human fleet moved to surround the returning Concorde ships. Thelius's face showed surprise as he realized the humans were treating them as potential enemies. "This is not standard procedure," he protested. Alan smiled grimly. "Welcome to Earth, High Commander. We don't do standard here anymore." 3 months after the Battle of Sol, ships from across the galactic Concorde arrived at Earth. They came not as masters, but as visitors, curious about the species that had done the impossible. Admiral Alan Pierce watched from the new Earth Defense Headquarters as delegations from 30 different alien species landed at the diplomatic center. The building, once designed by Vrandari architects, had been rebuilt the human way. Less elegant perhaps, but stronger and more practical. "They're all here," said Colonel Lisa Reyes, now head of Earth's new Xenointelligence Division. Even the Vrandari High Council sent representatives. "I never thought I'd see the day when the Concorde would come to us for advice," Alan replied. Inside the great meeting hall, General Frank Weller displayed images of the battle against the Kryvax. The alien representatives watched with wide eyes as human ships used tactics no Concorde species would have considered. "Your ships didn't follow standard formation," said a Thalari delegate. "Each one fought differently." "That's the human way," General Weller explained. We don't believe every problem has the same solution. Thelius, now representing the Vrandari Military Council, stood up. But uniformity brings efficiency. The Concord has always taught that standardized approaches are superior. And yet, Alan said quietly, the Kryvax defeated your standardized fleet. They knew exactly what to expect from you. The room fell silent. It was true, and every alien knew it. The Kryvax had studied Concord tactics for years. They had found the pattern and exploited it. That's why we kept our own military history, Lisa added. Thousands of years of human warfare taught us that surprise and adaptation win battles. Next, the Thalari scientist who had stayed to help Earth showed slides of human history, ancient battles where smaller forces defeated larger ones through surprise and innovation, modern conflicts where new technologies changed the rules of war. Humans never stop finding new ways to fight. Nex explained to his fellow aliens, what seems primitive might actually be adaptive. The Concord High Council formally invited Admiral Pierce and General Weller to address them at their headquarters on a distant world. There, in a chamber filled with the most powerful beings in the galaxy, Alan showed them what the Concord had missed. You called us primitive because we weren't like you, he told them. But different isn't primitive. Different is valuable. The Council voted that day to reclassify humans as a guardian species with full autonomy. Earth would no longer be a protectorate, but an equal member of the Concord. As the meetings continued, other species began approaching humans privately. Species that had also been labeled primitive by the Concord elite. They sought alliances with Earth, eager to learn the human approach to problems. It's changing everything, Lisa told Alan as they watched ships from 5 different worlds dock at Earth's new space station. The whole power structure of the galaxy is shifting. Later that evening, Thelius requested a private meeting with Admiral Pierce. The Vrandari officer seemed different now, less arrogant, more thoughtful. I owe you an apology, Admiral, Thelius said. We judged your species harshly. Because we weren't like you, Alan said. Thelius nodded slowly. We called you primitive because you weren't like us. We never considered that might be your strength. He looked out the window at Earth below. The Concord has existed for 10,000 years. In all that time, we never questioned our approach. Perhaps we became primitive in our thinking. Alan smiled at the irony. Sometimes the oldest lessons are the most valuable. Humans learned long ago that diversity of thought creates strength. As Thelius left, Lisa entered the room. The Concord is sending representatives to learn from our military academies, she said with amazement. They want to understand the human approach to warfare. And peace, Alan added. Let's teach them both. 1 year after the Battle of Sol, Earth launched its first truly human-designed interstellar fleet. The massive ship U.S. Pioneer led the way, its hull gleaming in the sunlight as it prepared to leave Earth orbit. On the bridge stood Admiral Lisa Reyes, recently promoted to lead humanity's first independent space exploration mission. All systems ready, Admiral, reported her first officer. Lisa nodded. Take us out. The Pioneer and its escort ships moved away from Earth, not using the standard Concord drive patterns, but a new system designed by human engineers. It was faster and more efficient, but the Concord would never have approved it before. It didn't follow their rules. Back on Earth, Alan Pierce adjusted his formal uniform. As Earth's representative on the reformed Concord High Council, he had important meetings today. The council chamber, once dominated by Vrandari design, now showed influences from many worlds, including Earth. The human delegation is recognized, said the Concord speaker. Alan stepped forward. Earth proposes a new approach to galactic security. Instead of one standard fleet design, we suggest diverse forces drawing strengths from all member species. The idea would have been rejected instantly a year ago. Now, after the Kryvax defeat, it passed with strong support. The concept of technological superiority has failed us, Alan told the council. We propose replacing it with technological diversity. Each species has unique ideas to contribute. Across the galaxy, changes spread quickly. The Vrandari, once the dominant force in the Concord, now worked alongside species they had previously looked down on. Their technology combined with others in new, more effective ways. On a small planet near the edge of known space, Nex opened the doors to a new research institute. Scientists from dozens of species gathered to study what they now called the human approach. The ability to combine diverse ideas and reject standardized thinking. Welcome to the first class, Nex told the gathered aliens. Today we learn from Earth's history. Humans have a saying, necessity is the mother of invention. As Nex taught alien scientists about human innovation, Lisa Reyes and the U.S. pioneer made contact with species beyond Concord space. These were cultures that had avoided the galaxy-spanning organization, fearing they would be labeled primitive. We come as equals, Lisa told a group of tentacled beings on a water world far from Sol. Earth believes every culture has value. The species called the Aquari revealed technology the Concord had never seen, ways to harness ocean currents for power, biological computers that used no metal. Within weeks, they had opened diplomatic relations with Earth rather than the Concord itself. One morning, as Alan prepared for another council meeting, an urgent message arrived. Sensors at the edge of known space had detected a massive fleet approaching. A new species, previously unknown, was heading toward Concord territory. The council gathered quickly. Fear showed on many alien faces. "What should we do?" asked the Thalari representative. "They have thousands of ships." Alan smiled. "We prepare, but not the old way. Not with one strategy, but with many." General Weller, now in charge of the Concord's Joint Defense Forces, brought up images of the approaching ships. "They look powerful," said Thelius, "but they all use the same design, the same weapons." "Then they haven't learned the lesson that saved us," Alan replied. "Diversity is strength." Within days, ships from every Concord species gathered, each different, each bringing unique ideas. At their center flew the new Earth flagship, the U.S. Defiance, commanded by Admiral Alan Pierce. As they moved to engage the new enemy, Alan looked at his diverse bridge crew, humans working alongside Vrandari, Thalari, and a dozen other species. "Once they called us primitive," Alan said quietly. "Now they call us teachers." The new enemy would soon learn what the Kryvax and Concord had discovered. Humanity stopped being primitive the moment they stopped caring who called them primitive.